To God be the glory.
The book of Proverbs has a lot to say about laziness. Solomon will often refer to the lazy person as a slug or a sloth, which are both extremely slow and inactive creatures. And then he will also contrast these images with the diligence of the ant, because the lazy man refuses to work while the ant is incredibly busy working all day long. Something I've always found interesting, and this is just my own personal observation, is the perspective of the lazy person. It's like people who look at the same glass of water and one person says it's half full, while the other person says half empty. Perspective, right? A rabbit will look at a turtle and say he's slow, but a snail will look at that same turtle and say he's fast. Again, perspective. I may look at a man and think to myself, he's a penny pincher, but that person would describe themselves as frugal and cautious. The greedy see themselves as deserving. The fool thinks he's actually smart. A liberal person thinks themselves to be generous. The fornicator views himself as a lover. So the lazy person, they often see themselves as victims. But human perspectives can be very subjective, and that's why we want to get God's perspective on life. We want wisdom from God, and the book of Proverbs is filled with content on this subject of laziness. Let's start with this proverb. As vinegar to the teeth and smoke to the eyes, so is a lazy man to those who send him. While we're talking about a lazy person, this proverb is more specifically talking about the person who sends a lazy person somewhere to do something. It may be a master sending a servant to complete a task. Or in modern day terms, we could say an employer sending his or her employee on an errand. Maybe they're delivering a package or picking up supplies. Or in a corporate setting, the executive might be sending the assistant to attend a meeting on their behalf and to represent the company. This can also apply to a parent sending a lazy child to complete a chore or pick up something at the grocery store. If you're counting on someone to do something for you, or if you are depending on that person to complete a task for you, but you know they love to take it easy, they move slow, they can't stay focused on a task, or they're just in no hurry whatsoever to get back, Solomon says this experience for the sender is like vinegar to the teeth, smoke to the eyes. It is very important for us to fully understand a proverb by pausing and spending some time thinking about the imagery that's being employed, the picture that's being painted. Biblical poetry relies on imagery, as well as a variety of parallelisms. But the imagery is key. If you don't know what picture vinegar is, the taste of vinegar, what's being painted by Solomon here, just give it a try and you'll see that it's not something your taste buds will enjoy. It will set your teeth on edge. It's just very distasteful to the mouth. Or if Solomon was thinking of grape juice, depending on the translation, he may be thinking of a stain it leaves on the teeth. Now apply this to how a lazy person makes others feel when they're being counted on for anything. You can just taste the disappointment. It leaves a stain before they even leave to go on the errand that you're sending them to accomplish. And the disappointment feels so inevitable, it may even make you want to cry, like smoke to the eyes. That's the other image being presented here in this proverb. The lazy person ends up hurting everyone around them. Solomon says, "He who is slothful in his work is a brother to him who is a great destroyer." Something else Solomon says, "The lazy man will not plow because of winter. He will beg during harvest and have nothing." So the lazy are not just a drain on their supervisor or their parent. They are a drain on society and everyone that they beg for help. I'm not talking about someone who falls on rough times. Please understand that. Someone who needs help. This is specific to a person begging for help when they could have helped themselves, but they refused to do so. Solomon says this, "The desire of the lazy man kills him, for his hands refuse to labor." You know, the Apostle Paul had something to say about people like this when he wrote these words, "If anyone will not work, neither shall he eat. For we hear that there are some who walk among you," he's talking about the church, "in a disorderly manner, not working at all." You see, laziness is not just something that gives you a disadvantage in life. Laziness, in God's eyes, is sinful. God gave us hands for the purpose of work. But listen to the image presented about the lazy man's hands in this proverb. The lazy man says, "There is a lion in the road, a fierce lion in the streets. As a door turns on its hinges, so does the lazy man on his bed. The lazy man buries his hand in the bowl, and it wearies him to bring it back to his mouth." This guy is so lazy he won't even feed himself. When his alarm clock goes off in the morning, he convinces himself he shouldn't go outside because it's dangerous out there. There might be a fierce lion wandering the streets. So he just stays in bed and rolls from one side to the other like a door turning on its hinges. And the sad thing about laziness is that this is a mindset that can be very hard to overcome. Lazy people have often convinced themselves that you're the crazy one because you get up and you go to work every day. I was once told by a homeless man that going through the stress of getting up every day and fighting traffic to go do what someone else wants me to do for a paycheck, he said, is madness. He told me he enjoyed the freedom that comes from not working, having no bills, no car to break down, no house to repair. He thought he was the wise one. Solomon has something to say about this as well. He writes, "The lazy man is wiser in his own eyes than 7 men who can answer sensibly." Okay, so now let's get to the hard task before us. We all need to look in the mirror and commit to getting rid of any area of our life where laziness exists. God's perspective is far different than that of the homeless man who told me I should consider his lifestyle. The good news is that it shouldn't be hard for us to locate the areas of our lives that may need some diligence. Listen to what Solomon writes. "I went by the field of the lazy man, and by the vineyard of a man devoid of understanding. And there it was, all overgrown with thorns. Its surface was covered with nettles. Its stone wall was broken down. When I saw it, I considered well. I looked on it and received instruction. A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest. So shall your poverty come like a prowler, and your need like an armed man." Solomon said in another book that he wrote in the Bible, Ecclesiastes, these words: "Because of laziness, the building decays, and through idleness of hands, the house leaks." You see, the effects of laziness should be very evident, very apparent. And trust me, other people can see the impact of idle hands. Solomon walked by the house of the lazy man, and it looked exactly as you would expect. Weeds growing everywhere, a broken fence, a roof that's leaking. And the Bible says that God's perspective on it all is that the man's hands were idle. He refused to work because he's lazy. God made us to be active. He made us to be productive. He gave us capable minds and hands to accomplish great things for Him. So if you care at all about what God thinks, and I know you do, then here's some wise advice for you. Solomon says, "Go to the ant. Go to the ant, you sluggard. Consider her ways and be wise, which having no captain, overseer, or ruler, provides her supplies in the summer and gathers her food in the harvest. How long will you slumber, O sluggard? When will you rise from your sleep?" What areas of your life might you be neglecting? Where do you need to wake up and put your hands to work with diligence? You may be a very diligent person in many areas of your life. People are often diligent about the things that interest them. Diligent about sports, diligent about hobbies, but not so diligent maybe about the things that are important to God. And so Jesus is our model. He was the opposite of lazy when it came to the things important to the Father. Jesus said, "I must be about my Father's business." He knew that at a young age. Jesus also said, "I must work the works of Him who sent me while it is day." The Apostle Paul says Christians should not be lagging in diligence, but be fervent in spirit, serving the Lord. So be diligent. Be diligent in everything you do. Don't be lazy, because laziness will not only destroy your life in the here and now, it will make you unfit for service to the Lord. And that's wisdom for living from the book of Proverbs.